Hey guys, this is Allison from Allykatkreations. How are you? Please like, share, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And if you get anything from my work, I connected an epiphany, a mind-blown moment, a new book to read, a new author to explore. Please consider supporting my work. All the links are at the bottom of this video. Hi. I finished, and it was worth it. Finished. Starting. Really, really amazing book. I implore all of you to purchase such book. Hermit's Journey. Because what better way to celebrate the incoming energies of the super blue moon that is happening tomorrow with a hurricane. And my prayers do go out to everybody who is going to be affected, whether in a small or big way. Storms still stink. And as much as I'm no longer in a hurricane state, I still have been my whole life just about. I know what those are, and they suck. So everybody in Florida, you have my prayers. Thus spoke Zarathustra. It's been a long hermit's journey, and we're on the cusp of change. And this is where we have to kind of come out of our elements, because the truth is really smacking you in the face, and there's still sleepy people, and there always will be. It's up to us now to find our tribe, find the people who are going to uplift us, who are going to support us, who are going to help us along our journey as we are going to help them. We need to balance these things, and that's where I think a lot of people are at the struggle right now. I just did an oracle reading. I just put it up on my page. Check it out, because it's all about the soul journey and the change that is just about to happen, especially for really letting go of the things that no longer serve us, the people, places, things, attachments, figuring out what it is that you want to manifest and what it is that you want for yourself. These are not easy questions to answer right off the bat. You try not to do the materialistic thing either. Yeah, we all want food, clothing, and shelter. That's without saying. But a lot of people will try to manifest some craziness, especially the younger generations. And I'm going to start with on the gift-giving virtue. This should be very interesting. When Zarathustra had said farewell to the town to which his heart was attached, and which was named the Motley Cow, not Motley Crew, Motley Cow, many who called themselves his disciples followed him and escorted him. Thus they came to a crossroads. Then Zarathustra told them that he now wanted to walk alone, for he liked to walk alone. His disciples gave him a farewell present, a staff with a golden handle, on which a serpent coiled around the sun. Zarathustra was delighted with the staff and leaned on it. Then he spoke thus to his disciples. Tell me, how did gold obtain the highest value? Because it is uncommon and useless and gleaming and gentle in its splendor. It always gives itself. Only as the image of the highest virtue did gold obtain the highest value. Gold-like gleam the eyes of the giver, Golden splendor makes peace between moon and sun. Uncommon is the highest virtue and useless. It is gleaming and gentle in its splendors. A gift-giving virtue is the highest virtue. Verily, I found you out, my disciples. You strive, as I do, for the gift-giving virtue. What would you have in common with cats and wolves? This is your thirst to become sacrifices and gifts yourselves. And that is why you thirst to pile up all the riches in your soul. Insatiably, your soul strives for treasures and gems, because your virtue is insatiable in wanting to give. You force all things to and into yourself, that they may flock back out of your well as the gifts of your love. Verily, such a gift-giving love must approach all values as robber. But whole and holy I call this selfishness. There is also another selfishness, an all too poor and hungry one that always wants to steal. The selfishness of the sick selfishness. With the eyes of a thief, it looks at everything splendid. With the greed of hunger, it seizes up those who have much to eat, and always it sneaks around the table of those who give. Sickness speaks out of such craving and invisible degeneration. The thievish greed of this selfishness speaks of diseased body. Tell me, my brothers, what do we consider bad and worst of all? Is it not degeneration? And is it degeneration that we always infer where the gift-giving soul is lacking? Upward goes our way from genius to over-genius, but we shudder at the degenerate sense which says everything for me. Upward flies our senses. Thus, it is a parable of our body, a parable of elevation. Parables of such elevations are names of the virtues. Thus, the body goes through history, becoming and fighting, and the spirit, what is that to the body? The herald of its fights and victories, companion and echo. All names of good and evil are parables. They do not define, they merely hint. A fool is he who wants knowledge of them. Watch for every hour, my brothers, in which your spirit wants to speak in parables. There lies the origin of your virtue. There your body is elevated and resurrected with its rapture, its delights, the spirit, so that it turns creator and esteemer and lover and benefactor of all things. When your heart flows broad and full like a river, a blessing and a danger to those living near, there is the origin of your virtue. When you are above praise and blame, and your will wants to command all things like a lover's will, there is the origin of your virtue. When you despise the agreeable and the soft bed and cannot bed yourself far enough from the soft, there is the origin of your virtue. When you will with a single will, and you call this cessation of need necessity, there is the origin of your virtue. Verily, a new good and evil is she. Verily, a new deep murmur and voice of a new well. Power is she, this new virtue. A dominant thought is she, and around her a wise soul, a golden sun, and around it the serpent of knowledge. Here Zarathustra fell silent for a while and looked lovingly at his disciples. Then he continued to speak thus, and the tone of his voice had changed. Remain faithful to the earth, my brothers, with the power of your virtue. Let your gift-giving love and your knowledge serve the meaning of the earth. Thus I beg and beseech you, do not let them fly away from earthly things and beat with their wings against terminal walls. Alas, there has always been so much virtue that has been flown away. Lead back to the earth the virtue that flew away, as I do back to the body, back to life, that it may give the earth a meaning, a human meaning. In 100 ways thus far have spirit as well as virtue flown away and made mistakes. Alas, all this delusion and all these mistakes still dwell in our body. They have their become body and will. In 100 ways thus far, spirit as well as virtue has tried and erred. Indeed, an experiment was man. Alas, much ignorance and error have become body within us. Not only the reason of millennia, but their madness too breaks out in us. It is dangerous to be an heir. Still, we fight step by step with the giant accident, and over the whole of humanity, there has ruled so far only nonsense, no sense. Let your spirit and your virtue serve the sense of the earth, my brothers, and let the value of all things be posted newly by you. For that shall you be fighters. For that shall you be creators. With knowledge, the body purifies itself. Making experiments with knowledge, it elevates itself. In the lover of knowledge, all instincts become holy. In the elevated, the soul becomes gay, aka happy. Physician, help yourself. Thus you help your patient too. Let this be his best help, that he may behold with his eyes the man who heals himself. There are 1,000 paths that have never yet been trodden, 1,000 healths in hidden isles of life. Even now, man and man's earth are unexhausted and undiscovered. Wake and listen, you that are lonely. From the future comes winds with the secret wing beats, and good tidings are proclaimed to delicate ears. You that are lonely today, you that are withdrawing, you shall one day be the people out of you who have chosen yourselves. There shall grow a chosen people, and out of them the overman. Verily, the earth shall yet become a site of recovery. And even now, a new fragrance surrounds it, bringing salvation and a new hope. Boy, doesn't that sound like what we're walking through right now. Legitimately. When Zarathustra had said these words, he became silent, like one who has not yet said his last word. Long he weighed his staff in his hand, doubtfully. At last he spoke thus, and the tone of his voice had changed. Now I go alone, my disciples. You too go now alone. Thus I want it. Verily, I counsel you, go away from me and resist Zarathustra. And even better, be ashamed of him. Perhaps he deceived you. The man of knowledge must not only love his enemies, but he must also be able to hate his friends. That's interesting. Playing out at a political theater stage near you. One repays a teacher badly if one always remains nothing but a pupil. And why do you not want to pluck at my wreath? You revere me. Well, what if your reverence trembles one day? Beware lest a statue slay you. You say you believe in Zarathustra, but what matters Zarathustra? You are my believers, but what matter all believers? You had not yet sought yourselves. I say this all the time. And you found me. Thus do all believers, therefore all faith amounts to so little. Now I bid you loose me and find yourselves, and only when you have all denied me will I return to you. I actually highlighted that a very long time ago because I love that quote. Now I bid you loose me and find yourselves, and only when you have all denied me will I return to you. Verily, my brothers, with different eyes shall I then seek my lost ones. With a different love shall I love you. And once again, you shall become my friends and the children of a single hope. And then shall I be with you the third time, that I may celebrate the great noon with you. And that is the great noon when man stands in the middle of his way between beast and overman, and celebrates his way to the evening as his highest hope. For it is the way to a new morning. Then will he go under, bless himself for being one who goes over and beyond, and the sun of his knowledge will stand at high noon for him. Dead are all gods. Now we want the overman to live. On the great noon, let this be our last will. Thus spoke Zarathustra. Dead are all gods, plural. Now we want the overman to live. Bye-bye, creator gods who came here to try to suck our quintessence out of our existence. What is our oversouls? Nothing more than our higher selves. Our superpowers are becoming what we are at a soul level. Not the human being that's right before you, but what is your higher self? This is where, what I keep saying in a lot of my episodes, where a lot of people I see, not everybody, but I'm seeing a lot of people who are walking this journey amongst a lot of people that are not yet awake. And it's really hard and confusing for them because they're not going in and doing the work. They're allowing other people to dictate to them the truth, but they're not going in for the truth for themselves. And you don't need to go, again, go within. Just because I tell you to go read this book, it's really, I mean, this is phenomenal, but I want you to read it for yourself, because I want you to get something out of it. You might not get anything out of it, or you may. But I'm only here to convince you to read it. You don't have to. You do your own work. If it doesn't resonate with you, it doesn't sound like something you would like to read, then that's not for you. But there are people out there who take people's concepts and hold on tight. Oh, I'm going to give you an example. The EBS. Oh my God, it's going to go off. Oh my God. It's going off. It's going off tomorrow, today. This person said, that person said, my intel said, that intel said. Did you go inside and think rationally, logically, think outside of your paradigm? Did you logically think? I bet you didn't. Because logically speaking, if there's only 5 to 6% of people who are high consciously thinking, who are awake, that know the complexities of how things are overlaying and laying out, and the densities and the things, I'm going to tell you right now, this is something that, again, the Voyager's book opened my eyes, my eyeballs up to this concept. There are so many layers. This book does the same thing. There are so many layers. There's so many psyoptic games being played from different factions. It's not a black and white faction. That's what everybody's equating it to. But no one's not equating the fact that there are other players on the board. It's not just a chess match between two people. It's multiple chess games going on at the same time. And when you hold somebody's research to the end all be all, and you're not opening up to the other research and the other directions and the other books that could possibly be also correct, again, this keep saying it. Life is a metaphysical mindfuck. It's perception. Everybody sees something different. Everybody sees colors different. Everybody sees an object differently, holds a different meaning to each person. When we're looking at decodes, when we're looking at how we go about walking into this world, it's all about perception. And you're not going to reach people if you are over their heads. This is one of my biggest problems because it's hard for me to convey some of the things that I would like to convey in simplistic terms because it's not easy. It's not. And there's some people who have code reversals in their DNA that won't allow them to read and learn from other people. Other entities are holding them back. And we're playing this game right now with, yes, good and evil, which is two sides, but there's also the balance in between. And there's like subsections of good and subsections of bad. Not all the bad want us wiped out. Not all the bad, the negative polarity people, they want to coexist with us, but they want to just like do their thing. They're not out for anything. They're out for themselves, but they're not out to destroy. There's a huge difference with, and the same with the good. There's so many people banking on money where you're not here to do that. You're here to manifest for yourself. But what you can't just think, I'm going to win the lottery. I'm going to win the lottery. I'm going to win the lottery. And you have to have a give and take. Yeah, you go get a ticket each and every day for $1. That's a lot of money at the end of the year, right? For some people, that's a bill. But people put $10, $20, $30, and let's say you do that weekly. Okay, you could save that money up and actually invest in something, or go back to school, or get a certification, or pay for services that are going to help you with being an entrepreneur, instead of banking on something that possibly, if you didn't write it in your contract, ain't happening for you. We wrote our scripts. Please watch Decode Your Reality. Logan tells it straight, and there's a lot of esoteric evidence that he presents that is showing you. I mean, I read Manly P. Hall yesterday. Tetragrammaton. All of that. The Kabbalah. Is it wrong? Is it right? Is it indifferent? It's what is here in the Matrix, and we have to play the game in order to. Bye-bye. You're not going to move forward if you cannot go within and do the healing and do the work that you need to do. Going with the deeper why questions, asking the deeper what questions. Why is this person in my life? What are they here for? Are they a catalyst for me to make a change? Are they a test for me to see if I'm not putting my own boundaries up? What are all these background people? What's their purpose and what do they serve? Like I said the other day, people who are of the polarized, they chose this experience. This time around, this part of the game, they chose to be evil. They chose to do some of the most heinous, nasty, horrible things you can even possibly imagine. But if they didn't do those things within our conscious awareness lifetime, we wouldn't be awake. We wouldn't understand. When you're in suffering, when you're in pain, when you walk the path by yourself, it is a lot harder to walk through life alone. You might have friends, you might have distant people around you, but when you need somebody the most, you're usually not there and not showing up. Or people do give lip service. Oh, what are you talking about? Just call me. And every time you call them, there's something else going on that they can't help you. And you postpone and postpone and postpone until you have to go out and do it yourself. And this is where the universe kind of plays a double-edged sword, because you're being tested to go ask for help. So you ask for help and you wait, right? And then the other component is, well, you're strong enough, do it. It's a double-edged sword. The universe doesn't play fair sometimes. But we're all being tested right now to really challenge ourselves in our minds, to expand our thinking. And that's in both the shadow aspect and the light aspect. You have to acknowledge the shadow in order to see the light. You have to acknowledge your dark side. You have to acknowledge the things that you feel that might be flawed. There's no flaws. We all have flaws. We all have character issues, and whether it be inner or outer, we all have issues. That's a human experience. How do you overcome them? What are the things that are triggering you? I said in my reading earlier, I had a really, really messed up day yesterday, mentally. Bad. Yesterday, my father passed 18 years ago. And I said, hey, Dad, why don't you come down for a visit? And he came. And I replayed the moments of the last moments I had with him. But what really, really I thought I healed was I was 22 years old. All the things that I ever really set out to do with my life went in the garbage. I wanted to go to grad school. I wanted to be an art teacher. Never happened. I had to go through working jobs that paid nothing. I got sick. I didn't make anything. Half my entire life, well, I'm 40, here we are, halfway through my life. I had not ever made anything over a significant, a little over welfare status. Let's just put it that way. And I'm a very ridiculously hard worker. I didn't choose to hold myself up on a podium. And what am I supposed to do? I took care of my mom. I did the admirable thing. Most children let another person take care of their kid, their parent when they're sick and they have a family of their own. It's hard. I had to be my mother's mother, her caretaker. I had to wipe, clean her, cook for her for 13 years. And I took care of my dad. And in those moments, I lost a big chunk of my early youth. And what do I mean by that? Most people are married in their 20s. Most people are having kids in their 20s. All of that escaped me. It wasn't in my script. But it still hurts to know that I'm still in that stalemate, working and trying and not finding what it is that will get me to have some kind of success in terms of financial stability. Haven't found it yet. Ain't this channel. Gonna tell you that much. And it isn't going out there and helping other people, because I've done so much for so many people in the last couple of years. It's insane. So, and I know there's a bunch of you in the same boat. You constantly do for others, and you're not having an equalized energy exchange. I'm feeling that right now. And it's now I have to put my boundaries up and put my foot down. This is how people walk all over other people. When you're too giving, you're too nice, and you do, and they expect you to do. and there's no equalization of balance. There's a lot going on in this universe right now. We're going through a complete metamorphosis. We're all in our chrysalises, uncomfortable, waiting for something bigger and better to come. But we have to create what that bigger and better is. We have to navigate it. And now we are the team of people who are going to be the ones that usher everybody else. We're like, I'm an Aries, so I'm usually the first, like, not an innovator, but somebody who's usually the first to go out in the battlefield. The people who are experiencing these things first are usually the ones that are the stronger personalities and characters who are going to steer everybody else in the right direction. And again, reading this man, people don't like him, but his advice is really sound and strong in this book. That last section is on very deep levels. You might not agree with him, but this is how we're all going to move forward, is knowing how to have these conversations and knowing where we are and what place we are. But if you don't go in and do the work inside, it just said it, what's going to happen? You're going to hang on everybody else's words instead of your own. You can't give to others if your cup isn't full. And you're going to burn yourself out if that's the case, where your cup isn't full and you're not taking care of yourself and you're not doing the work. And a lot of things are starting to trigger people right now, and that's supposed to be, because those are the last couple of things that need to really be honed in and healed. I know why I was upset yesterday. It's just private. And there's a lot of things that I'm not going to upset the whole fold for. But I see a lot of selfishness happening around me. I see a lot of people not caring about my feelings. They pretend that they care on the surface level, but they really don't care about my feelings. What can they get out of me is what I intuit, what I'm energetically feeling from another person, and multiple people at the way. Oh, she's not going to mind. No, she's okay. She doesn't mind. Well, how did you know if you didn't ask me? And then what, are you going to put me to something and what? And a lot of people are going through this back and forth with other people, especially us hermits. We don't have people to stand next to me to be a strong pillar. It's just me. I'm the one pillar. That's it. I don't have a husband. I don't have many friends that are going to always stand behind me. They have each other, and it's all just, I'm like the third wheel in an equation all the time. It sucks because I have no one advocating for me. I don't have other people advocating for me. I don't have too many other people helping me. So it's just me. And I know a lot of people feel this way. And that's why I'm talking about it and not reading. But I know a lot of people feel that way. You've been abandoned by thinking outside of the box, being creative, and going inside of yourself and having your own epiphanies day by day. You're getting these downloads, and there's like no real people to share it with, because you think they're crazy, and they're going to think you're crazy. But we need to start voicing, regardless of what other people think. We need to get up and out. We need to transmute the negative. We're going to find our tribe. But if you don't voice up, how are you going to find us? More and more people are waking up. And it's other communities and other cultures who are finally just seeing surface level stuff that it making logic sense. We already passed all of that. We did that 5 years ago. Like half of the things that these people are waking up to, we've been there, done that 5 years ago. Okay, but it's so uplifting to know that they're finally joining us. They're slowly coming onto the team. They're like, hey, I'm so sorry. I thought you were crazy, but I now see it because the veil is starting to lift. Many of us, the veil lifted already a long time ago. For a lot of people now, it's just starting to lift. There's still haze there. So these conversations, these things that we do in public, the things that we do, we got to be very careful. We're not trying to overwhelm or overstimulate somebody's brain for them to go back to sleep. Now that they're awake, we got to push them and give them some seeds. How are you going to seed your friends, your population, your culture, your community? How are you going to seed those people? And it might have to be very strategic. It has to be probably sometimes ninja with the content that you're trying to share or the conversations you want to have. Be mindful. But again, all of that comes within you. Just because someone holds up a book or a document doesn't make it to be so. Time is fluid. Time keeps changing. Timelines keep changing. Things keep being ping-ponged back and forth. So something that was written in the 50s, it could have been a psyoptic paper just so that when the person that needed to discover it, oh, look, this is it because here's my evidence. Okay, but I have people that are a bunch of things saying no. Again, I see this on a daily basis. And I feel more hermited than anything else because for some reason there's an opposition to Ashiana Dean's work. And again, like I said, I don't always resonate with everything she says, but a lot of her work does. And a lot of people are opposed to even reading it, to researching into it, to even giving it a glimpse. That shows you there's something up with that. That tells you when someone is not open to reading other people's work or investigating it, and they refuse to do it, what is stopping them? Because it's not a good force. I'm telling you what. I read stuff that I don't agree with just to see a perspective. How do I know that I was going to get anything out of this book? This book is incredible, but I took multiple people's perceptions about this book and they said, well, calculated formula, I need to read it. Dolores Cannon. The Law of One. The esoteric work. How do you know? But if somebody tells you something, you don't go within to see if it resonates within your soul. Back to the book. Enough ranting. The Child with the Mirror. Then Zarathustra turned again to the mountains and to the solitude of his cave and withdrew from men, waiting like a sower who has scattered his seeds. But his soul grew full of impatience and desire for those who he loved, because he still had much to give to them. A lot of us feel that way right now. But his soul grew full of impatience, and a lot of us feel that way too. For this is what is hardest, to close the open hand because one loves, and to keep a sense of shame as a giver. Here we are. Everything I just spoke about. Thus months and years passed for the solitary, but his wisdom grew and caused him pain with its fullness. One morning, however, he woke even before the dawn, reflected long, lying on his bed, and at last spoke to his heart. Why was I so startled in my dream that I awoke? Did not a child step up to me carrying a mirror? Oh, Zarathustra, that child said to me, look at yourself in the mirror. But when I looked into the mirror, I cried out, and my heart was shaken, for it was not myself I saw, but a devil's grimace and a scornful laughter. Verily, all too well do I understand the sign and admiration of the dream. My teaching is in danger. Weeds pose as wheat. And I say this to you, the weeds pose as wheat. If everything we know is 1984, everything, what's the truth? It's within. It's remembering what the truth is. Remembering who you really are. Because I just spoke these words in common language. But it's the truth. My enemies have grown powerful and have distorted my teaching till those dearest to me must be ashamed of the gifts I give them. I have lost my friends. The hour has come to seek my lost ones. With these words, Zarathustra leaped up, not like a frightened man seeking air, but rather a seer and a singer who was moved by the spirit. Amazed, his eagle and his serpent looked at him. For like dawn, a coming happiness light reflected in his face. What has happened to me, my animals? Said Zarathustra. Have I not changed? Has not bliss come to me as a storm? My happiness is foolish, and will say foolish things. It is still young, so to be patient with it. I am wounded by my happiness. Let all who suffer be my physicians. I may go down again to my friends and to my enemies too. Zarathustra may speak again and give and do what is dearest to those dear to him. My impatient love overflows in rivers downward towards sunrise and sunset. From silent mountains and thunderstorms of suffering, my soul rushes into the valleys. Too long have I longed and looked into the distance. Too long have I belonged to loneliness. Thus I have forgotten how to be silent. Mouth have I become through and through, and the roaring of a stream from towering cliffs. I want to plunge my speech down into the valleys. Let the river of my love plunge where there is no way. How could a river fail to find its way to the sea? Indeed, a lake is within me, solitary and self-sufficient, but the river of my love carries it along down to the sea. New ways I go. A new speech comes to me. Weary I grow, like all creators of the old tongues. My spirit no longer wants to walk a worn souls. Too slowly runs all speech for me. Into your chariot I leap storm. And even you I want to whip with my sarcasm. Like a cry and a shout of joy, I want to sweep over wide seas till I find the blessed isles where my friends are dwelling and my enemies among them. How now love all to whom I may speak. My enemies too are part of my bliss. And when I want to mount my wildest horse, it is always my sphere that helps me up best. As the ever ready servant of my foot, the spear that I hurl against my enemies. How grateful I am to my enemies that I may finally hurl it. The tension of my cloud was too great. Between the laughter of lightning bolts, I want to throw showers of hail into the depths. Violently, my chest will expand. Violently will it blow its storm over the mountains and thus find relief. Verily, like a storm come my happiness and my freedom. But let my enemies believe that the evil one rages over their heads. Indeed, you too will be frightened, my friends, by my wild wisdom, and perhaps you will flee from it together with my enemies. Would that I know how to lure you back with shepherd's flutes. Would that my lioness wisdom might learn how to roar tenderly. And many things have we already learned together. My wild wisdom become pregnant on lonely mountains. On rough stones she gave birth to her youngest. Now she runs foolishly through the harsh desert, and seeks gentle turf, my old wild wisdom. Upon your heart's gentle turf, my friends, upon your love she would bed her most dearly beloved. Thus spoke Zarathustra. Tough love. Tough love. Can only kill somebody with kindness so many times until you have to put your foot down and put boundaries up and have tough love. If we look at the way Ra wrote the Law of One and gave us what really is nothing and all at the same time, it's all an illusion. It's all catalysts we chose to put into our lives to have soul growth. And a lot of that is tough love. A medium told me the hardest path is being awake and conscious and having abilities, because you go through more than most people will do in a lifetime. You need all these experiences to go through, feel, suffer through, and learn from, so that those who are a weaker will can survive because of you helping them and giving them aid. This is true of so many of us. A lot of us have gone through things that most people will never have to go through, or do it in a time where there is more grace. People there to hold them, while many of us had to do it all of ourselves, all by ourselves. No one holding us up but our own selves. And sometimes it sucks, because how many times do you fall and fail and need help? It's like the echo that's coming back to you, and it's just, you're never alone, but the energy of spirit is with you. They're not here physically helping you, and many of us need that physical help. I do this from time to time. I go into my hermitum. I go by myself. It's not too many people can handle the conversations that I usually try to have. And most of the conversations that I do have, they're not taken with a grain of salt. Or they're not willing to do the work for themselves. I know many feel the same way. You try and try and try. Help people. Talk to them. Seed them. And they're not willing to do the work on their own because they want you to do it for them. Can't. I cannot undo anybody else's trauma. I can only undo mine. And I should not be a soundboard for everybody to unload their problems on either. Pay me. I wish I would have thought about becoming a therapist, but I am not licensed. I give a lot of advice to people, but a lot of those people unload on me. It's time to go within. It's time to look at yourself in the mirror. It's time to confront the devil that is behind your eyes. We all have it. We all have demons and angels. And if you are taking what I'm saying literally, look at it allegorically. You have a good and bad side. Look in the mirror. What are you seeing? Can you look past your eyes? What's in your soul? What's above your soul? What is it? What are you connected to as a greater scheme? Here's a challenge. Look at yourself in the mirror and tell yourself, I love you. Sincerely do it. Don't fake it. Look at every part of you and say, I love you. Keep doing that every day. I'm going to probably leave it there. The book gets quite lengthy and it's not as sectional as it is the first part. So I'm going to chop through this a little bit. But I wanted to read those sections. This book changed my game. It made me perceive the world in a little bit of a different light. It made me go and understand why I, like Zarathustra, going in the cave and being solitary and gaining wisdom and looking and analyzing and doing a lot of my self-thinking. Not too many people do that nowadays, and not many people have the time, but we need to carve that time out to go within, to think of improving yourself, loving yourself, forgiving yourself, and then how to go back out and make a better change in the world. It's not easy, and especially doing it on your own. So take those words, take those stories, and put yourself in them. And when we go and see people, just be very mindful of how you're doing it and how you're projecting it. you want to take your enemies with you too, because they're not necessarily all enemies. They're very confused, asleep, low vibrating people who can be lifted up. We just need to give them a chance. Everything happens in its own divine timing, and that is situational for each and every one of us. We can't keep pointing the finger. Yeah, these people and that people, this person did something bad. But if they didn't do that bad thing, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be awake. If the higher up powers that be that are here incarnated, I'm one of them. You guys are one of them. I might not be some like king or queen and incarnated in these major roles. I doubt that. I was more of the healer, the oracle, the behind the scenes person that still frequently, like with my frequency, made a change in all the generations that I lived. Many of you are the same. I didn't want to be famous. I didn't want to hold a title or a name. I know in one of my lives I was an Irish princess, or I was of royalty to some extent. But in that lifetime, $1500s, not the greatest time to be alive, to be honest. But each one of us has a story. Each one of us has many, many, many lives that we played. But now we've most of us have incarnated as what we individuated from source with. The majority of us are angelic. And that's not saying that you're not a starseed. That's when you individuated and densified. What were you before you densified, before you dropped down? Remember, life is like an hourglass. You started out with source. Source needed an experience. He had to have duality to have a free will system. So he created the matrix. And we individuated and started to densify and densify more until we're here as we consciously are now. That does not necessarily mean that what's in fractalization of our souls aren't of a higher source, and they are a notch above. Many of us volunteered to come back. We never got trapped. There's a misconception out there. There's documents that tell us that there's a soul trap and there was something on the moon and something on Saturn. And as much as that's probably the truth, what and who are they trapping? Their own. Those that didn't want to go along with their greedy little ploy, and they needed to keep their seed here. If you are of the Christos, I doubt you got trapped here. You have volunteering to come back to hold the frequency of this plane of existence. Again, go in logically and start thinking about what you are at a soul level. I know what I am. And in fact, I'm going to have another medium reading with my spirit guides. That should be mind-blowing. And again, just to validate some things, the far out future, if that timeline sticks, I'm good. I don't got to worry about nothing. But that's not for a very long time. There's a lot of variables in between. Like my current near future status. It's getting grim again. But I'm putting work. I'm putting action into motion. I'm trying new things, new places, new things to explore. I'm trying to build up my art resume, well, my artwork to sell so that I can open up a store and hope that I sell some stuff. I'm going back into my hyper realistic drawings again. I'm trying to do stuff to generate and put my frequency into things so people can enjoy them. That's what matters the most. But it's not easy when you don't have people that are standing behind you and cheering you on, that really are doing it, not just saying that they're doing it, or they like something that they're not watching and tell you one thing and do another. That's all I've been getting recently. And it hurts. Because I go very far out of my way for a lot of people. And I just have to re-explore what it is that I want and what I want to manifest for myself that's going to help humanity. And it might have to be done in different ways. What do you want to manifest for yourself, but that's going to help humanity? These are not easy questions to ask, because some of us, and even myself, as much as I know what I am, it's a huge responsibility to hold a frequency and hold light. That doesn't serve me any monetary value in this reality, right? Like, what I do is not of this realm. It's on a higher scale. Many of you are doing the same thing, like, oh, I'm trying to clear ley lines, but you're not getting paid for that, right? You have to eat, you have to put clothes on, you got things that you need to have an everyday functionable life. Like, you have to still live in the matrix. So how does one do that and do your higher calling? Yes, you have faith in the universe, things are going to work out, but you can't just sit idly by and do nothing and think the universe is going to come and serve you and give you some, here's a lotto ticket, you won. It doesn't work like that. It might work if you wrote that in your script, but most people don't know what their entire scripts. I sure don't. I can't see really anything for myself. I could see for other people, I could see some timelines, I could see things, but for myself, I'm not allowed to see. Divine timing, and in divine timing, I have learned a hell of a lot more about my life, and it's been an incredible ride, but it took me a lot of mental gymnastics to do so. And I'm imploring you all to start doing your mental gymnastics as well, because it is needed. So we are well prepared to move forward and to make the changes so that all of us are abundant and all of us are happy and all of us can move forward together, united, not separate. That's the importance of this hermit's journey, is to go within and find yourself, find who you are, remember who you are at a soul level, know what you want. And if you don't know what you want, that's okay. That just says you need to go and see, what is it that makes your heart, your soul happy? What makes you happy? Then let's figure out what is there out there in this reality that can bring you close enough to having that happiness. And a lot of us are still trying to find it. We're still trying to be innovators and figuring out how is that going to produce in this realm. We still have to work with it. I'm hoping all of you enjoyed. Sorry for the ranting. It's just, especially with this hermit's journey, it's a very long one for many of us. Some of us, it's lifetimes. It's not comfortable. It's not fun. But we're strong enough, and we chose it because we knew we were. So we have to pick ourselves up, come together, work together, and do this together. As much as we're isolated in whatever part of the world you're in, we're still alone physically, but we can learn, put out the will and intention, and start drawing physical things to us so that we can spread it to everybody. And there's only a small selection of us that are doing that now. We're gonna get there, guys. We're gonna get there. Sending each and every one of you light, love, protection, and shielding. Please, those who are living in Florida, we saw what happened in other states. Please be weather aware. Please have an evacuation plan. Please get as many animals and everything that you could need with you and get out to higher ground if you're capable of doing that. And be the person that takes other people in if there is catastrophe happening. I already have friends I told that live down there. If you need to come up here, please do. My door is open to you. Please be safe out there. And those who are not living in Florida, let's bubble Florida up, please. This we're seeing coming, where the other event we didn't get to see right away. We see it. So let's try to energetically influence it to not be so devastating. Although, yes, Mother Earth has to cleanse and things have to happen the way they have to sort themselves out, that doesn't mean you can't help put the love and light and the flow so that it doesn't devastate the people. Please be safe, be seen. Sending everybody my love. Go within. Please go within. Start doing the work. There's a beautiful change around the corner. I want to see more people thriving. Holding this space for you guys. Don't hate. Book review incoming. See you guys on the next one. Have a really safe and bubble night.